Hello, and a warm welcome to our weekly show, Love Athletics. In this program, we bring you the latest highlights from our sport with expert input from different continental areas. We're delighted to have as our guest for today, Carole Fuchs. Hello, Carole.
Hello, everybody.
Lovely to see you.
I'm glad to get the chance to talk to you all from Toronto today.
That's brilliant. Thanks. Let's first take a look at what's been happening since our last show 2 weeks ago. So as we had anticipated, Sunday, 12th of September was a very busy day and some great results were registered. Let's start with the road races and the very aptly named Adizero Road to Records event in Herzogenaurach. 2 world records were registered there on Sunday the 12th. Ethiopia's Senbere Teferi set a world 5K record of 14:29, well ahead of compatriots Melknat Wudu and Nigistu Haftu. Agnes Tirop set a women-only 10K world record of 30:01, ahead of Kenyan teammates Sheila Chepkurui and Nancy Jelagat. On the men's side, 3 races produced world leads, all by Kenyan athletes. In the 5K, Jacob Krop defeated Ethiopia's double 5,000-meter world champion Mukhtar Idris, 13:06 to 13:09. And Mukhtar was also below the previous world lead set by Joshua Cheptegei in February. Then 218 world under 20 10,000-meter champion Ronex Kipruto won the 10K in an excellent 26:43 over Ethiopia's 219 world cross under 20 silver medalist Tadesse Vorko. And finally, the men's half marathon produced yet another world lead with Kenya's Abel Kipchumba clocking 58:48 to lead a Kenyan sweep. In the Great North Run half marathon, Kenya's Helen Obiri won the women's race in 67:42, ahead of Eilish McColgan in 47:48. This was a half marathon debut for McColgan, but not Obiri, who had run faster in Istanbul last April. The men's race was not quite as fast. It was won by Britain Mark Scott in 61:22, while Australia's Stuart McSwain, making his half marathon debut, finished in 62:52 for 8th place. Always on the same weekend in the Vienna Marathon, first man at the finish in 2:09:22, Ethiopia's Derara Huriza was disqualified shortly afterwards as his shoes had soles that were thicker than allowed by the rules. So victory went to Kenya's Leonard Langat, who had finished just behind him in 2:09:25. Both Langat and women's winner, fellow Kenyan Vivian Chepkurui, who clocked 2:24:29 in her marathon debut, had slept on the floor at the airport 2 days before the race after missing a connecting flight, which makes their performance even more significant. Then a week later, on 19 September, the Copenhagen half marathon registered some fast results. Ethiopian athletes secured a double with Tsehai Gemechu and Amedework Valelenya. Tsehai's 65:08 was the 12th fastest in history for women, while in the men's race, Amedework clocked 59:10. Stadium events also registered some very good performances, in particular in the final Continental Tour meets. The oldest one-day meeting, Istaf Berlin, was held on the 12th of September for a record 100th edition, offering some great results. Olympic discus throw medalist Valerie Allman threw a massive 71:16 for a world lead and an American record. NACAC record. Only Croatia's double Olympic gold medalist, Sandra Perkovic, has thrown further this century. The Continental Tour Gold meeting in Zagreb also registered some great performances. Brian Krauser started the fireworks on Monday the 13th with a massive 22.84 meters, and his stunning series of 22 plus meters continues to grow as all of his 6 throws were above the mark. And in the main meeting on Monday, Francine Niyonsaba smashed the world record on the 2,000 meters with 5:21.56. Given her fabulous post-Olympic campaign, it definitely did not come as a surprise. Other top marks included Devon Allen's 12:99 in the 110 hurdles, his first time under 13 seconds, which makes him the second fastest this year. It was a great way to end the season for Allen after claiming the Diamond Trophy in Zurich and notching up another win in Berlin the previous Sunday. Olympic champion Valerie Allman had another great win with 69.63 and now owns 5 of the top 6 marks of the year. Allman defeated Croatian heroine Sandra Perkovic, who was hoping to score a record 10th victory on home soil in Zagreb. Also on the 14th of September in Bellinzona, Switzerland, Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce capped a stellar season with a 10.78 win, her 7th mark below 10.80 this year, second only to Elaine Thompson-Hera, who has 8. And on the 18th of September, the final leg of the Continental Tour took place in Nairobi. The Kip Keino Classic saw some great results, with sprinters making the most of the altitude. Craig von Brummel set a world-leading mark of 9.76 in the 100 meters, narrowly defeating Kenyan sprinter Ferdinand Omurwa Omanyala, who shattered Akani Simbine's African record with 9.77 to become the 8th fastest man of all time. Fred Kerley continued his post-Tokyo campaign with success, improving his 200-meter PB to 19.76. Christine Boma posted her 4th consecutive win, clocking 22.39, while Morocco's Soufiane El Bakali took the 3,000-meter steeplechase in age 21.20 in the home of the Kenyan specialists. But let's get back to our guest. Carole is probably the top expert in African athletics, founder of Africatle website back in 2001, and then one of the founders of the African Athletics United Facebook page in 2009. The page has become the go-to place for results and information from the continent and is very, very close to reaching the milestone of 100,000 followers. So congratulations to African Athletics United.
Thank you, Anna. It was indeed an eventful summer.
Definitely. Carole, first of all, tell us, how did you become interested in African athletics?
So, even though I'm based in Canada currently, I grew up in France and started athletics as a kid in France. And for me, rapidly, athletics didn't turn only to be a sport in itself, but a window to the world around me. So, as a teenager, I knew a lot about geography thanks to watching athletics and the stars I used to watch. So I used to know about Jamaica through Merlenotti, Russia through Irina Privalova, Trinidad and Tobago through Atto Boldon, and Namibia through Frankie Fredericks. So as a teenager in France, like there were few people who know that Namibia had recently become independent if they were not following Frankie Fredericks. And as a competitor myself, athletics allow me to travel throughout the country, to get out of my small village and to meet people from other backgrounds, other environments. And France, at that time, like more than 20 years ago, hosted a lot of the top French-speaking athletes from Africa, because all the high-level training centers did not exist or were not as developed as now. So top athletes especially in technical events, in the sprints and jumps, throw, often move to France. And I got the chance to meet some of them and to develop close friendship. And I realized that they didn't get any exposure compared to the French top stars. Nobody knew about them. And they were training as hard as the other athletes. So I felt like, as I myself went into a career in information and information science, that as I was trying to find a way to remain involved in the sports after my career ended, I decided I wanted to help with my skills in information to try to help African athletes get more exposure. And it was a time also that internet was just developing. So there were lots of possibilities. Before, information was really restricted, and now there was a possibility to access to more people, more sources, newspapers. And I felt like I could be kind of a liaison or a go-between between what was going on in Africa and the rest of the world. Try to access the information and to distribute it to maybe give more visibility to African athletes.
I remember the first time I met you was in an African championship. I don't remember if it was Yaoundé 96 or Dakar 98.
It would be Dakar 98. It was my first trip to, yeah.
That's right. And then Carole was a very important contributor to the Focus on Athletes project, writing great bios of athletes and exactly providing that exposure, which a lot of the African athletes didn't have it. So, Carole, what were your 3 favorite moments over the many years you've covered athletics?
So actually, I've kind of drawn a few categories. And one of the categories, of course, is when you get to see world records live, in direct, the emotion. And the 2 biggest records I remember, of course, were Usain Bolt's 9:58 world record in Berlin in 2009. And then one of the major races I also remember vividly was the 800 meters final in London 2012 with the David Rudisha's world record in front of Nigel Amos and Mohamed Haman. Then I was thinking also that having traveled to some African events, I got the chance to attend races that actually do not get views because the lack of coverage. I remember one race at the All African Games in Algiers in 2007. It was the men's 10,000 meter races. And there was Eritrea's top star, who was not such a top star yet, Tsersenai Tadesse, who decided to go solo in the 10,000 meters. And there was absolutely no one in the stadium. And he was running his laps on his own, and I was just mesmerized by his stride. The result is not significant, but sometimes you have some races that stick to you. And you don't know, because of the atmosphere, the feeling of the night. And the last major moments were in African crowds at the African Championships in Kenya and Ethiopia, watching the long distance races in full stadiums is just such an atmosphere. I don't remember really the results. Usually it would be the Kenyan star winning or at home, or the Ethiopians winning at home, but just being able to attend such precious moments where the crowd is chanting represent moments you're not gonna forget ever.
That's definitely true. I remember in Addis, the whole stadium was standing up and singing during all the 5,000 meter and 10,000 meter races. It was really something quite amazing. Mm-mm.
Indeed, yeah.
And what were your favorite moments of September, of the last 2-3 weeks?
So the last 2-3 weeks, I would say the 100 meters in Nairobi, of course, because Kenyan sprinters Ferdinand Manyala Omo were really impressed. I feel like if the race was 10 meters longer, he would have taken it. And of course, for those who have followed his seasons, we knew he could still improve. But now it will be interesting to see how he carries on next season, because now he's going to be invited into the major meets, whether this season he didn't really get a chance entering accesses in the Diamond Leagues until the very last one in Brussels.
Exactly. Now it's going to be different, because now everybody knows, meeting directors know his value. So it will really be interesting to see how he confirms and what he has in store for us next season.
Mm-hmm. I was really thrilled also by the 1500 meters at the Zurich Diamond League final. Such exciting oppositions duel between Sifan Hassan and Faith Kipyegon, with Faith Kipyegon prevailing this year at the major times, and also the duels between Jakob Ingebrigtsen and Timothy Cheruiyot over the 1500, and victories like swapping sides depending on the days. One of the other major moments was the 100-meter hurdles African record by Toby Amusan at the Diamond League final in Zurich, because Toby was probably quite disappointed after Tokyo to stay out of the podium, missing it narrowly. And at the same time, this record came on a big day at the Diamond League final, and we knew she was going to break it. She's been close to it for the past 2-3 years, and if it was not for the pandemic, she probably would have broken it earlier. So it's great to see an athlete finally reaching their goal like this. And I would also mention just the post-Olympic weeks for Francine Niyonsaba, who just triumphed in all the distances she competed in the Diamond League, from the 2 miles in Eugene, 3,000 Paris, 5,000 in Zurich, and crowning her season with the 2,000-meter world record. And she just came back home this week and had a triumphal parade through the capital of Burundi, Bujumbura, where she presented a diamond trophy to the local public. So it's great to see a successful transition from the 800 to longer distances.
Yes, thank you, Carole. I was also very, very impressed with Niyonsaba. First of all, with her determination, her versatility, not letting go and saying, okay, I'm going to run on distances which are quite longer than the one in which she was an Olympic medalist in Rio. So definitely very impressed with Francine's post-Rio campaign. And of course, a world record is always a superlative effort. But for me, one of the top moments in the last couple of weeks was on the 11th of September, when Philippines pole vaulter Ernest John Obiena continued his progress, clearing 5:93 at the Golden Roof Challenge street meet in Innsbruck. Unfortunately, the mark cannot be ratified as an Asian record because the event is considered an exhibition. But given Obiena's progression, it will not take long before he officially beats the 5:92 continental record set by Kazakhstan's Igor Potapovich back in 98. And Ludmila Yakusheva had recently told us how Obiena had asked pole vault legend Sergei Bubka for an autograph and told him he was a vaulter himself, aiming to pass 5 meters. Bubka told him to reach out when he did, and then put the young Filipino in touch with his former coach, Vitaly Petrov. So reaching out is an important characteristic in young athletes, as the stories of Robiena and Yulimar Rojas show. But let's turn our focus back to Africa. Carole, how do you see Africa's performance in the Diamond League and in the Continental Tour season?
I would say it depends what we look at. If we look at the Diamond League final, it was a really successful year for Africa, with one of its top results, because with 9 trophies, Africa tied its best result for a final. So what we can say is that Africa has strong individualities that can perform on the day that matter. And so that is mainly in the longer distance events. So with Kenya and Ethiopia bringing the largest contingent to the competition as usual. So I would say the longer distance events, 3,000, 5,000, 3,000 steeplechase, are still a stronghold for the continent. But there is more competition now in the middle distance events. Like the 1,500 and the 800 are more disputed between athletes from Africa and emerging athletes from Europe and Australia and America. You see more suspense in the races in general. Like in the 1,500, you have a few top athletes like Timothy Chariot and a few newcomers like Abel Kipsang and so on, but you have much more competition coming from Jakob Ingebrigtsen, Stuart McSwain, and all the British contingent that were also real animators this season. And so I would say in the middle distance events, there are strong individualities, but there's a bit less depth. And one of the big issues, I would say, is the other events where there have been just a handful of athletes from Africa. So in the sprints, you have Marie-Josée Talou, Akani Simbine, Isaac Makwala, who are the regulars, and Toby Amusan over the hurdles. And in the field events, this year it was mostly the men's triple jump and a few shot putters, but otherwise, we haven't seen many athletes, and that's an issue. And I feel like so some of the top stars also were not really active on the circuit this season, prioritizing Tokyo. So we had a few big performances by Joshua Cheptegei, the Ethiopian Letesam Bedgide, Gudaf Tsegai, Nigel Amos, for example, or Wade Van Niekerk, but they didn't compete too much on the meeting circuits. It would have been nice to see them more. But otherwise, what I'm worried a bit more is the emerging athletes, because lots of athletes didn't get the chance to compete since the pandemic started. Some of them had difficulties to train. For example, I think Kenya's javelin thrower Julius Yego couldn't train properly in the javelin. The high jumper Matthew Sawe is the same, and they are not the only ones. We had seen emerging athletes from Dakar, for example, but they haven't been able to access meets in Europe. So most of the athletes able to compete in the Diamond League were sometimes European athletes and not the African. That's the major issue. There is a depth issue right now. Is current athletes are in their peak, but we need to see with the next generation to replace them in a few years.
talking about next generation, who are 3 names from Africa who particularly impressed you this season?
So, of course, a Kenyan sprinter, Ferdinand Manyala Omowa, even though he's already 25, because he's bringing excitement to the event and to some areas that are not known for the sprints. Then, in terms of Diamond League, I would say Algerian's triple jumper Yasser Triki, who was one of the successful athletes in the field event this year, and who got access to the first time to Diamond League meets, and was really close to winning a meet if it was not for the final 3 rounds. And of course, the stories about the Namibian Sprinters this year, Christine Boma and Beatrice Masilingi. I had already my eyes on them for the past 2 years, but this year they really emerged on the international scene after clocking incredible times in Southern Africa, Namibia, and Zambia. They were invited to international meets where they got exposed to the whole world. And after being prevented from running the 400 meters, they were asked to transition to the 200 meters with little notice, and they really managed to obtain great success in these events too.
Yep, thank you. And who are 3 ever dependable African athletes you wish to highlight?
The main one is not on the track, but he's on the road. So it's Eliud Kipchoge. It's the main name over the marathon. He's been present on the marathon thing, and so many people know him, even who do not do much athletics themselves. He has a recognition way beyond the real fans. He really touches so many people, runners from everywhere who look to him, and because he also behind his amazing successes, and Tokyo was a demonstration by the lead he managed to open in such difficult conditions. But beyond his running, I feel like he's reaching also lots of people by communicating with them and encouraging people to practice the sport, making the sports accessible, and giving advice for people who want just to run. Another one I was thinking was in Africa was another big name is Helen Obiri, who's crowned a career on the track now. So 2021 was probably the last year for on the track. And she's now going to move more to the road. And she's been one of the major animators of the African distance scene over the past decade, I would say. And she's also one of the major names that's recognized in Africa. And then after that, I wanted to mention the sprinters, because our sprinters, the African sprinters, may not have brought medals in Tokyo, but they were really, really close to it. I'm thinking of Marie-Josée Talou and Akani Simbine and Isaac Makwala. So they've been on the sports scene for a long time, and they are the role models for the continent in terms of sprint, I would say. And they have been here consistent over the years. And I'm wondering for now who is going to come to replace them in the future. And I hope that the young African sprinters that we saw in Nairobi will emerge to be a valuable replacement for the continent in the future.
Thank you, Carole. It's very true. It's great, I think, that you also highlight the sprinters, because even though they were not on the podium in Tokyo, their consistency is still, admirable. So well done to Marie-Josée, to Makwala, to Akani. And yes, let's hope that there's new names coming up behind them. So thank you, Carole. Africa will also feature prominently in the coming athletics action over the next 2 weeks, because top events in the next 2 weeks, from the 20th to the 26th, the China National Games, which are underway until Sunday, will conclude. Now, this is a competition among regions in China, and it is crucial, very important element in the national calendar, because through the results of the national games, funding is secured for the next 4 years. So it's very important for the athletes to do well at the national games for their region. On the 24th to the 26th of September, South American Under-20 Championships take place in Encarnacion in Paraguay. And after that, focus will move almost entirely to the roads, as the World Marathon Majors will take place between now and early December, including those that are traditionally held in spring, like London. So 6 of the Platinum Elite Marathons will take place in the space of 6 weeks, between 26th of September to the 7th of November, with Valencia concluding the series on the 5th of December. So the first one to start is Berlin Marathon on the 26th of September. And there Ethiopia's Kenenisa Bekele and Hiwot Gebrekidan are the top entries. Kenenisa came close to the world record twice in Berlin and is hoping to achieve the goal this time. On the 3rd of October, the London Marathon will take place with very strong fields, including 7 men with PBs under 204 and 8 women with PBs under 220. On the 10th of October, we have the Chicago Marathon. Fields include 7 men with PBs under 206, but only 1 woman with a PB under 220, Ruth Pengetich. And on the 11th of October, Boston Marathon, with 6 men with PBs under 206 and 3 women with PBs under 220. So lots to look forward to in the coming weeks. So we're now at the end of our program. It was great having Carole with us on the show.
Thank you, my pleasure.
Remember to check the African Athletics United website, Facebook page to keep up to date with the results and information from the continent. Thank you all for watching. And just a scheduling note, we'll now be recording every fortnight, not every week, as action on the track winds down and athletics activity around the world is reduced. So thank you, everyone, and see you in 2 weeks on Love Athletics to look together at the highlights, comments, and analysis from the world of athletics and what has been happening over the past fortnight. Ciao, Carole. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye, ciao.
Ciao.